My career for a long time, and even partly today, has been very much defined by let's fit in, let's find the way that it feels comfortable in a suited sort of a world. Mm-hmm. Because that was in direct contrast to how I grew up.
Almost the right to be oneself fully, and lean into a creative side is something that actually has to be earned, regardless of one's age, gender, etc.
Yeah, and the question is, should we have to? If we talk about why women leave careers, it's very often the weight of all of those little micro injuries, those mini attacks, those things that were unseen by everybody else. It's very hard to back yourself 100%. I've always felt like I know the least around the table. I subscribe to the model, prepare and over-prepare and prepare some more. That was my inner demon. That was what I had to work out how to control.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Playing the Inner Game. My name's Michael Campion and I am blessed today to be joined by my friend Louisa Robb. Louisa Robb is an executive coach and consultant on organizational culture, and she's flown in all the way from Zurich to join me in Hong Kong. So Louisa, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me.
My
it's
pleasure.
Very exciting to be here. Thank
I know.
You.
I've been really looking forward to this for a couple of months. Obviously, we caught up on Zoom and Teams, but it's never the same. It's never the same. And you very helpfully kind of showed me where all the nice overlaps are between kind of your journey and my journey. But today's about you. It's not about me. And I would love to start the easiest entry point, I think, or the natural entry point is just to wind back the clock and talk about kind of your journey from early childhood influences all the way to kind of your career in the corporate world, and then what you do now, which is really leaning into your superpower. So I almost see it as kind of creativity, corporate structure and stability, creativity once again. Would it be fair, kind of looking back at your childhood on the creative influences you had? How did that kind of influence you?
I think that's a very vivid description, actually, because my career for a long time, and even partly today, has been very much defined by let's fit in, let's find the way that it feels comfortable in a suited sort of a world. Mm-hmm. Because that was in direct contrast to how I grew up.
Yeah.
And now I'm finding my way, the last 10 years or so, a bit more, out of that kind of suited and booted feel of a corporate world, but realizing you can still be part of it.
Yes.
And bring that crazy childhood creativity back into the mix, I guess. But I felt like I probably had to earn my stripes first.
Interesting.
In the corporate world to be able to, be more creative with what we do.
Almost the right to be oneself fully, and lean into a creative side is something that actually has to be earned, regardless of one's age, gender, etc.
Yeah, and the question is, should we have to really do that? Should we have to earn it, or could we? There's people who have this fantastic artistic creativity and streak, and they pursue that through their lives, and that differentiating factor defines them. But I think for a lot of the rest of us, we kind of feel bound to creating a very rational path through things.
Yes.
Find a career, establish yourself in the career, don't rock the boat too much. Progress to a place where you feel comfortable, or comfortable perhaps in security sense, financially maybe. Yeah, before you can move on.
And then the true you can kind of emerge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting. With a previous guest I had on a podcast, quite senior at HSBC, an old friend of mine, Peter O'Hanlon, he said a very similar thing in the sense he felt like he was wearing a mask every time he went into the office. And that's not a slight against HSBC. This is something he's worked through and is now, over the course of the last few years, feels fully able in his global role to be able to bring his full self. But it wasn't always that way, right? For you, how did the kind of chaos in your household at a young age kind of rub off on you, I guess?
So I think the chaos came from being a child of the 70s and having two very creative parents in two completely different ways. My father was a visionary, but a dreamer, an entrepreneur, we might call him these days, but I don't think he never really landed too successfully any of those visions of the future that he had. He had a lot of incredible visions, and unfortunately they didn't all come to pass the way he would have wanted. My mother was a pioneer in the Australian film and television industry. So she came to Australia in the late 50s as a young woman, started out with a modelling career and found her way onto set as a stand-in, and she had shorthand and typing. So was suddenly very useful to the production team. She was typing up the call sheet for the next day. She was super organized. The next thing she knew, she was stepping into more detailed production roles. And of course, when you live that kind of glamorous, at one level, but very unpredictable life, and she went on to be the head of children's television at the ABC in Australia. She made feature films. It's not your 9-to-5 job. You don't know where the next paycheck is coming from. My father was no longer around at this point anyway. And that kind of insecurity, that fabulous dinner parties with actors dancing almost on the table and being huge personalities with lots of food and wine, felt fabulous at the time, but I also saw the insecurities and the challenges it brought to our life as a family. So I was very much of the opinion that it wasn't going to be for me. I needed something that gave me financial security, first of all, funnily enough, and then some kind of trajectory that would ensure I had control, interestingly.
Makes a huge amount of sense when you look at kind of your career path, certainly in finance, obviously rising to managing director, C-suite, that you would want that stability and security that you craved as a younger person that just was absent and wasn't there. I guess at what point did you kind of make that conscious decision to jump into that corporate world? Was there a certain inflection point, or was it driven out of financial necessity? What was it?
It was really driven from, I need to be, children, I think, rebel against their parents very often. Right? And then they work out, hang on, the parents were actually quite okay with that, or I quite appreciated that. So there's I don't think there was so much of an inflection point as a clear, actually, I'll go back. There was a teacher at school who said to me, Louisa, you should be a damn economist. And I didn't know what it was. I must have been 14. Looked it up. I went to the library as you did those days and borrowed the book. I went, economist, hang on, what does that mean? And I thought, that kind of makes sense. There's a degree in economics. Okay. All right. So I think at some point I was set on that. And then it fit quite naturally with, hang on, it's quite a stable profession, isn't it? If you go into finance and banking and, that's interesting. All right. That's where I'm aligned.
Got it.
So it wasn't that I had great work experience or an uncle or a mentor or somebody who said, this could be a career for you. I think it was just luck.
Luck, a little bit. Well, I mean, sometimes someone sets us on a path with, again, it's just this little turn of phrase, a throwaway sentence sometimes. You should be an economist. And it sticks because of the time in your life, the mental state that you're in, whatever it is, I guess the vulnerability of youth as well to receive such advice.
That's right.
But as you said, we quite often rebel against our parents, and most people rebel the opposite way, right? We have very straight-laced, structured parents who were an economist, a lawyer, banker, and we rebel by becoming a creative, and you rebelled against the rebels, which I find interesting.
It doesn't feel so rebellious. It felt quite practical.
Yeah,
right?
The most practical rebellion ever. I'm
going
to get the most sensible job I can find.
They're not in the arts. Can you believe my terror? My shame.
The shame.
The shame, they're not going to be on the board of the Arts Centre.
Well, you mean that creative streak obviously came back later in life and emerged, right, as it does now, and manifested itself. Tell me about those years of kind of starting out in the world of finance, as a young female, even worse back then than it is now, I think, in terms of diversity and visibility in the industry, right? Really were walking into a man's world. How did you find those early years?
So funnily enough, I graduated into the worst economic conditions Australia had and has had. It was the early 90s since the Great Depression. So there was no work in 1992 in Australia. So I jumped on a plane and I came to Hong Kong. So
here we are again.
Back in familiar territory. And Hong Kong in the early 90s was full of possibility, but it was extremely expensive. It was a hard place to be. And I ended up working for Sumitomo because I had not what I would have wanted it to be as fluent as, but fairly decent Japanese at the time. And so I started off in derivatives, interest rate derivatives. And this was fun. This was interesting. It was a relatively small team. But I wanted to keep pushing and trying more. So after a year, I ended up in the interest rate interbroker market. Again, Japanese company. And I think this is where I got a real taste for, I want more and different, because the vernacular would be, I was working with a bunch of barrow boys out of London. And we can swear pretty well in Australia, but they had me.
They were even better than you.
They were even better than me. And they hired me with the promise of taking on clients and, trading out to 10-year interest rate, yen, whatever currency swaps. And I started off as the board girl.
Okay.
So I had a degree in economics and I was the board girl with a bunch of barrow boys.
Yeah.
And then I realized that things weren't going to change. I was the only girl on the desk. They were going out to girly bars with their clients. This was not a place where I was going to find my space.
You weren't going to be invited into that space either.
No.
Yeah.
And no matter how much I pushed or thought that I could find a niche for myself, it wasn't going to be available to me.
Okay.
But funnily enough, when I turned around to leave, the head of the business said, "We can't lose you. We need to keep people like you." And I said, "It's too late. You've lost me because you never made the environment open for me." And I know that market's changed a lot, and that we are talking the early 90s. But I think that, and then a subsequent job I had here before I left, was quite formative for me to think, I have to find a place where I can grow in the finance world without being put into a box.
Okay.
Now, you're a woman, therefore you can or you can't, or you must do only
There are
this.
only certain roles that one can be contained in.
Yeah. So I packed up and went to Europe.
So your first move in Europe, where was that to? Paint a picture for us.
I didn't want to be in London.
Okay.
I think there's a couple of Aussies in London.
One or two.
Just a few.
One or two.
And I felt very clearly that if I was another Aussie in London, I really didn't have a lot of differentiating power. So I was very fortunate when I went to Europe. I took the Trans-Siberian Railway to get there.
Amazing.
And I met this really nice Swiss lad. He said, "Why don't you come to Switzerland?" And after I checked on the map where it was and confirmed that they did indeed have banks, and at the time they had 3 very large banks, I went, "Oh, that sounds quite nice." So I had no German, no French, and I ended up in Zurich. And that was beginning of 96. And I'm still there.
And tell me that man is now your husband.
Of course he's my husband.
I love it. I love it. So you're telling me you genuinely had no idea when you got on the train.
I had no idea where I was going to go.
That you're going to Zurich?
No.
Wow. Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
He must have been pretty charming to convince you, right?
And he still is. It's
still
amazing.
Is. Yeah, shout out.
Well done him.
Well done him, I know.
Yeah.
You got to ask the girl out on the train if you don't.
And ironically, he'd been traveling around Australia for 4 months, and he'd come through Hong Kong and done the ubiquitous backpacker thing. He'd stayed at Chongqing mansions.
Love it.
He'd tick, exactly. Meanwhile, I was, suffering somewhere here in a really small apartment on my very minimal salary and, hoping I could hit happy hour at Lang Kwai Fong just at the right time to get 2 beers instead of just the one. And he booked a ticket on the Trans-Siberian, went traveling through China and ended up in Beijing at the same time I did on the same Trans-Siberian crossing. And the rest is, as they say, 26. My God, it's now 31 years ago that we met.
31 years together. Incredible.
If you've been enjoying the podcast and you're finding my channel valuable, can I please ask you a very quick favor? Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on audio, please just take 2 seconds to hit subscribe. When you do that, you help me grow the show, you keep the wheels turning, and enable me to get bigger and better guests. Thank you.
So,
mad.
I mean, call it serendipity, call it fate, call it luck, whatever you want.
Yeah.
But you've landed in Zurich with this very charming, articulate man, clearly.
Yeah.
What does it look like then? You're on the job hunt. You found out there's 3 banks. What are we doing?
Zurich was like most of the places in the 1950s. So it was very male-dominated. It was the kind of culture that, it's actually baked into society in Switzerland.
Okay,
we had a vote 3 weekends ago. It's a direct democracy in Switzerland, so we vote on everything, big ticket stuff, and we vote at federal, state, and municipal level.
Okay.
And there was a federal vote about whether we should split our taxes, because currently a husband and wife's salaries are additive into one tax return. You can't choose to separate them.
Okay.
And given women, we know, earn 80 cents on the dollar, it means if your husband earns 100 units and you earn 80 units, your 80 units is taxed at a higher percentage arguably, than his 100 units.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. It's quite difficult to justify that second salary because it's a tax on the husband's salary as well. And children, if you have them, they come home for lunch every day from school.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay.
And they only go to school at 7.
Right.
And then for the next 6 years, they walk home every day and get fed a hot lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't really an infrastructure for children not to have that routine in their life.
Yeah.
They're expected to walk to school, not to be driven to some private school in a school uniform or something else. So societally, it was not so straightforward. However, interestingly, there was still a lot of expats, international people working there. And so I was very fortunate that I got a job at the old Union Bank of Switzerland.
Okay. And you were at UBS for some time?
I was at UBS for 15 years.
15 years all in all.
I did the first merger. I haven't done the second one.
I got out right time. Yeah, you can deal with that headache, guys.
I think one merger is enough for anyone to have to live through.
One's enough. Yeah. So you've obviously got, well, not obviously, you and I both have kids. Yours are kind of flown the nest now, correct? They're at university or work?
One's at university, one's working.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So you obviously raised your family, met your husband, raised your family.
Yeah.
Whilst building this career in finance, you end up as managing director, COO, chief of staff, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Latterly at UBS. What are the kind of key learnings, I guess, over those various stages of development? Did it require something different at each stage?
That's an interesting question.
I guess, it's almost, and don't let me artificially weave the question a different way if you had a better way of answering it, but it's almost, who did you have to be to succeed at each stage of the game?
I know I had to be someone that asked for more or different.
Okay.
It wasn't enough just to say, okay, thanks, that'll do. I asked for my promotions. I asked for more money when I knew it was due. I had the perfect comparison. I'd worked for 3 years. My husband hadn't. He had a year of extra study. So he had a master's from the University of Zurich in economics. I had a bachelor of economics. And when he was still being paid a lot more than me for effectively similar jobs, I knew I had to ask. So I was lucky that I had a reference point, right? Because a lot of women don't in these roles. We think, oh, I'm so happy with my lot. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for hiring me and for looking out for me. And, so I think that was important. I know I had to ask for things. I knew also that I had to put myself in positions of change.
Okay.
Outside your comfort zone, not in the terror zone, danger zone, fall off a cliff zone.
Yeah.
But to say, okay, I think I've had my lessons here. Where do I need to stretch into a space that's less comfortable to take on more learnings?
Yeah.
And to grow.
That willingness to actually ask for more is something that people really struggle with, right? To demand what one is worth. I have this saying, I don't know if you'll like it or not, but you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something that perhaps comes more easily for men, less easily for women in terms of, demanding the opportunities, banging on the boss's door to say, look, I've been adding value, time to recognize it. But it's hard for men as well. So talk to me more about where you think, obviously you had the benefit of inside intelligence from your husband alongside you, but still that's only a small part of the equation, right?
I think we know, to go to your point, women find it harder to ask for it.
That's fair to say, is it?
It is fair to say. And it's also, we start to get into the zone where people have had sound bites of all these cliches, what appear like cliches, as in women are seen as aggressive, whereas men are seen as strong in the same situations. And unfortunately, these things are not just cliches, they are so true. And if you are seen as a pushy woman asking for more, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
For the person who's receiving those requests. And at some point, it's not, okay, I'll oil that squeaky wheel. It's, I'm changing the tire.
Yeah.
And so there's a balance. And I think you have to become very attuned to your environment as a woman in finance. And there were certainly situations where I would think, that's really inappropriate behavior by that person. And it banter, what they thought was funny, And how do you push back, and how do you retain your dignity and say, no, I think you've got, better things to do than waste my time with your silly comments or whatever it might have been.
Yeah.
I think learning that kind of resilience is not the same for every woman.
Yeah.
And how they do it. And so then we sort of start to talk about these fearful situations or these imposter syndrome or, when people literally feel like they've been somehow abused.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it doesn't even have to be explicit over abuse. It is the accumulation of all these silent...
These micro cuts.
Micro cuts, yeah? These micro acceptances where you should have said something, you wanted to say something or couldn't or wouldn't, right? And it's just like this tax that compounds on your psyche, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we talk about why women leave careers, it's very often the weight of all of those little micro injuries, those mini attacks, those things that were unseen by everybody else, but at some point become such a burden. You say, you know what, I can't fight it anymore. I can't swallow it, process it, and let it go because it's becoming toxic for me.
Yeah.
Every single day, I watch smart and otherwise successful people struggle to communicate their value. They have the expertise, but they're not brilliant speakers. And they lack the technique, they lack the gravitas to deliver their ideas with impact. They don't know how to speak in a way that makes people listen. The good news is that the principles and techniques of effective public speaking can be taught. They can be learned. And the truth is most working professionals, many senior executives, are probably operating at 7 out of 10 in terms of their communication potential. You are talented, you are hardworking, you're good at what you do. But if you're honest, you know deep down that you're leaving money and opportunities on the table every time you're asked to present to an audience. Click the link or visit my website and submit an inquiry. Let's unlock the confident communicator you were always meant to be.
Yeah.
Are there any other kind of challenges that you either personally experienced or you've seen in your experience as a executive coach, consultant to organizational culture, numerous corporates? Are there patterns that keep recurring, keep emerging that we haven't touched on yet? Or just feel free to go deeper on any one of those.
Yeah, I think there's lots of patterns that you can see. I think we talk a lot about needing to think about these issues for women, but yet women don't want to be seen as needing to be remediated.
Yeah, very important distinction.
Yes, we've got to fix the women's problem here.
It's a distinction with the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's quite hard actually to get people aware of the fact that there might be equal opportunities, but we have unequal outcomes. So we might have policies in place, but doesn't turn out to be the lived experience, or the policy might not fit with what's actually needed in that situation, or the training hasn't been in place for the other leaders to understand their impact. So I think there's a lot of consistencies for companies that, especially in a male-dominated kind of environment, you lose women at this mid-career. So you talked about inflection points. It's this kind of mid-career point for a lot of women where they quit because they've had enough of this sort of micro-injuries, this sort of wearing down. They perhaps are promoted into a role without the right support.
Yeah.
And that support might mean they haven't had the training, they've been put into a role because someone needed to ensure that we had better diversity across a management team. And so we needed that person who happened to be a woman to be put into that role, and maybe they weren't quite ready for it. And then we also have a lot of women who sit in organizations sitting on untapped potential.
Yeah.
Where no one's bothered to ask them and they don't feel confident enough to say, I can do more, I can do different, or you've not given me the opportunities.
Yeah.
So I think those are 3 very consistent patterns that I see. And those women sit anywhere from the age of 28 to 48 in organizations. It really depends how your career unfolds. But how as a company do you address that? It's really hard.
It's really hard, right? Yeah. Because you're right. You do in finance, in law as well, you see it, right?
Yes.
Trying to make partner when you've got kids as well is exceptionally difficult, right? Because it just requires so much of you to become, managing director at a bank or partner at a law firm, partner at a consulting firm, etc. And you do lose women there, unfortunately, because they quite often don't have the support or training or people around them to, I guess, help them along the way a little bit and have a bit of grace. But for you managed to do it, right? You managed to quote unquote get there and make it to the top table. What separated you from perhaps some of the rest?
And I think you have to have a will and you want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be lucky to have the managers that support you. I was fortunate also to have a partner that supported me.
Yeah.
You know, we were both racing to see who could get MD first. A little healthy competition, right?
Healthy household competition.
I say that in the best possible way. You know, we both enjoyed our careers. And so you want to show up for work. You want to do the best that you can. And historically, a promotion is a good validation that you've been doing the right work. You're on the right track. But for me, I think the key thing was constantly putting myself in situations where you had some kind of exposure and you could do work that not necessarily was high profile, but had a real possibility for real impact. Yeah.
When you can see you're actually making meaningful change, that's a great motivator.
Yeah.
For anyone, I think, because I think there's a lot of people kind of listening or watching who may feel that they've stagnated, right? They've hit a bit of a ceiling. And it's not necessarily the company's a bad place to work or that they're not a capable person. But I know personally, and for many others, if you feel like you've stopped learning and stopped developing, I'm out. Like psychologically, emotionally, I'm out, right? I might be present physically, but my heart's not in it anymore if I don't feel like I'm being challenged in the right way.
But I also see a lot of people who don't need that necessarily.
Correct.
I caught up with someone I haven't seen in 30 years. Yesterday, we worked together and she stayed in the same line of work the last 30 years. So there was obviously a lot that was fulfilling her. It was a client-side business, which is quite unusual for women. So huge kudos to her. But now she's looking to find different areas to grow and challenge herself to step outside that comfort zone. So we all want it. I think we all inherently want to learn and grow. We look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and certainly the tools that I use really focus on the self-actualization thing that I call the Buddha behaviors. You know, how do we focus what the inner version of us actually needs, and how do we develop it? And for each person, I think that's very different and very unique. For me, it was, okay, more, next challenge. How can I do something else? Oh my God, that's scary. Right, let's go.
I mean, it's one of the main reasons I call this podcast Playing the Inner Game. Right?
Yeah.
You have to develop your interiority and inner sense of who you are, what you want, what you stand for, before you can have an impact on the outer world, right? Inner before outer.
Very true.
For you, what were the biggest challenges for you, if you don't mind me sharing, in terms of kind of your inner game and your challenges that you needed to overcome? Were there any demons or any weaknesses that need to be kind of ironed out, or were you doubling down on certain strengths? What were you kind of focusing on?
It's such a trite thing to say, and now we've put a label to it. I'm even more embarrassed, but this kind of sense of imposter syndrome.
Okay.
This, let's say, it's very hard to back yourself 100%. And I've always felt like I know the least around the table. I seldom walk into a room throughout my corporate career thinking, right, I've got this.
Okay.
They're all going to listen to me. And listening to some of your previous guests and your conversations here, I subscribe to the model that you also prepare and over-prepare and prepare some more.
Okay.
So I think that was my inner demon. That was what I had to work out how to control. That fear of, I don't know as much as everyone else. I don't have the master's or the PhD in economics, or I haven't got that language skill as well as they do. So I have to prepare.
Yeah.
And I have to then also learn to ask the stupid questions, the simple questions, because if I don't understand it, maybe I'm actually not the silliest one around this table, and someone else might not know it as well.
You're quite often saving someone, even if they don't verbalize it, like, whew, thank God Louisa asked. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Good question. Right.
Underrated skill. Yeah. But I like that. I mean, similar to you, I think the one thing you can't beat me on is work ethic and preparation. Right? Or at least it's the one thing I can control.
Yes.
Right? It's the one thing I can control. And if you're going to beat me on some other dimension, that's fine. But you won't have beat me on research, preparation, and practice. So I think that's...
And when we were setting up and talking about, okay, this has to be here, this sense of control what you can control and control it to a way that is not unhelpful.
Yes.
but it quietens your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so whilst you can't prepare for every situation perfectly, you can prepare what you're able to control in that situation. And that gives me, I guess, enough inner peace to be able to deal with any crazy situation.
Yeah. Towards the end, and again, I think I probably know what the answer is, but having worked myself with many CEOs, presidents, founders, etc., what's really interesting to me, and I think should be refreshing for anyone listening, is that imposter syndrome goes all the way up.
Yes.
All the way up, right? Everyone, even at the highest levels of the game, feels on some level, I'm not good enough. And I think that's comforting, actually, right? To realize that not everyone has it figured out. And yes, they might be highly competent, capable, charismatic, whatever it is, but on some deeper level, they feel they're not good enough. And one can never quite achieve that top of the mountain, all-seeing eye.
I think when we lift the veil on that and make that very clear to the clients that we work with, that gives them a sense of peace in themselves. I had a client who, back to your metaphor about masks, I had a client who saw themselves so very differently in their internal self-perception versus how everyone else saw them. And it was day and night. Yeah. And it was really all about them not feeling that they were good enough to fit in. So they were coming to work every day in a mask.
Okay.
And as soon as they saw the two sides, they saw how people saw them and how that was absolutely in contrast to their inner self-belief, then we were able to start to unpack, well, what do you need to do differently to reveal that real version of yourself? Yeah. Because that's the version where you know yourself best. Yeah.
You said rightly so, and because I would phrase it exactly the same way, that it's almost become a little bit trite and a bit of a cliche to use the term imposter syndrome. Do you have a different reframe for it? Is there anything you've kind of stumbled across? If not, it's fine, because I think it's the one most people relate to, and it is that self-doubt that goes all the way up.
Yeah.
Just because it's a cliche doesn't mean it's not true.
I think we've used the term incorrectly. So when you actually find the science of what is imposter syndrome, it's kind of, it doesn't quite fit, but it's become the vernacular, right? That we associate with, I doubt myself. I don't fully back myself. And I think that's the key, the key element of what imposter syndrome is. I don't fully back myself in a situation.
Yes.
That's all it is.
That's all it means. But again, I think to your point earlier, if you are someone who thrives on and needs to constantly push towards the edges of their comfort zone, by very definition, you will feel incompetent. You will feel not ready.
That's right.
How could you not be?
Yeah.
Because you haven't done that yet. You haven't played that level of the video game yet. So it's actually a healthy signal, if you will. I like to think of it that imposter syndrome is a healthy signal that you're putting yourself in the right arenas, as you did, just slowly scaling up. Right? Fighting better demons is good, right?
A little bit of fear is good, right? It propels us. You have to have some anxiety before you do something, not in a stomach acid kind of a way, but it nerves, it increases, heightens your senses, and you're okay.
For sure. That drive, the fuel, I think was the word you used. How did that change for you over the decades in your career in terms of like tapping into different sources of fuel and motivation? Because it obviously changed. You left finance, but it probably evolved during that time as well.
That's an interesting question. Again, I'm not sure that much changed for me. I really loved what I did. I was really motivated.
I know you loved it. You enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it.
But there was a decision to leave. So what was that for you?
The catalyst for me was, I think it was a slow burn, and I see it better in retrospect. I'm able to define what it was now, or a year or two afterwards, very clearly. But I was upset with how the world was viewing finance.
Okay.
And I couldn't solve it within finance. And so what I mean by that was, because I was in the legal and compliance function, things kept on going wrong at banks, specifically at UBS, and the regulators were on our backs. The press was all over it. You're full of bad, evil, rotten people. Look at the track record of all these bankers who keep on doing terrible things. And the shareholders were upset. And so I thought, but we're not. I look around the table and these are all great people, and they work hard and they have incredible ethics and they're problem solvers. So why have we been labeled like this?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in a function where we've been told, put more layers of control. And I had premises people trying to say, well, we're going to move compliance out to a less central location. I said, you can't take compliance away from sitting on top of the bankers. That's what we've been told we have to do.
Yeah.
It's not a floor space. It can't be a floor space issue. This is and I'm like, but why do I have to have police officers sitting over the front office? What's broken that means everybody's focusing on banking as the bad man or the bad boy of industry. So when I stepped out, I thought, okay, I need to find a way to give back to this industry clarity on what's actually driving these incidences.
Yeah.
So that we can look back in, much like a mixing board in a sound studio, and go, hang on, we've dialed up the comp too much. It's too much direct drive, and we're focusing on promotions and forced distribution of performance, and we're not hiring at the right level. And so hang on. So are there quantitative tools that will kind of give me that narrative? Because finance is a numbers-based business. It wants to know in numbers what's going on. So I was fortunate to find industry-leading tools in that space. And then I realized, okay, now I can go back and say, we don't need more compliance. We don't need more control, but we need to fix how you train people, or we need to fix some other things through measurement.
Yeah.
That felt valuable to me.
Yeah. And that clarity, you think, only could possibly emerge having given yourself some distance from it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it took about a year.
Okay.
I thought I know I want to consult. I know I have some value to add, but I don't know what my USP is. I don't know how to bring it together. But as soon as you start to talk about organizational culture, you then pretty quickly get to the individuals that are driving that culture. So not just the systems and processes, but the people in there.
So I love your mixing board analogy. I do a similar thing, but you articulate it better than I did.
I doubt it.
So organizational culture here, I think if we kind of arbitrarily put that as macro, and then micro, the locus of the individual, how do you see both kind of working in tandem when you go in and consult somewhere?
You can measure the culture of an organization. So let's say you have a 10,000 person organization and you measure the culture, and the cultural outcomes are perhaps it feels you have to withdraw, you have to stay in a place of security, you don't want to rock the boat too much, you have to kind of follow rules and procedures. Maybe that's the company culture, that's kind of the outcome.
Geek out with me a little bit first. How do you measure those things?
That's a whole nother podcast. That's a whole nother
We need 2 hours.
We do. Tools, surveys, but scientifically tested, well used for over 50 years.
This is not
extremely valuable.
Qualitative survey. This has been engineered to...
Absolutely. So if we know that this culture is kind of sitting in a perhaps more defensive place, and we know that sits as a counterbalance to achieving kind of business outcomes and for people to have their own individual growth within that context, that's what it feels like. So corporate culture is what behaviors do I have to exhibit in order to fit in?
Yeah.
That's kind of the definition of culture, right? So if you have to lay low and play the game like everyone else in order to fit in, that's your company culture. So what about the individuals in there? Well, much like popping up an umbrella, you could have a manager, let's say she's looking after 50 people of a 10,000 person company, and she's decided, I'm going to create something a bit different for my 50 people. And so she's going to take on a lot of that anxiety around, okay, we're going to have to fit in. But she says, in my team, I'm going to play it differently. I want your ideas. I'm going to encourage you to work affiliatively with one another and to support each other and challenge constructively. And I'm going to support you in that process. So individuals are affected by the corporate culture or the company's outcomes of culture, but equally they can be a safe harbor in a storm, or they can be something different. But it's a lot of energy to hold that umbrella up the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time.
Yeah.
But I think it's, again, we're kind of talking about when it goes wrong and how we create worlds within worlds, right? But have you seen any really great examples of when it's done well? Or do you only tend to get called in when it's going poorly by design?
Unfortunately, yes, it's the latter.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of studies and research done about the further companies are back in the space of defensive cultures, the less likely they are to ask for help.
Yeah.
And if they're sort of transitioning to a place where they're starting to get some of the things right or starting to assess the value of a much more constructive, mutually supportive, not hyper-competitive, really building each other up kind of a culture, then they're starting to ask for help.
Yeah.
Because they're saying, hang on, I think I'm starting to see where this could go.
Mm-hmm.
Can you help me move it a bit further? And that's often when you get leaders saying, I want to work with my team.
Yeah.
Because they get it.
Mm-hmm. If we look at like those leadership behaviors, and behavior being a function of, I guess, person plus environment.
Yeah.
The environment is toxic, even you might be a beautiful person, but you don't flower in that environment. At the locus of the individual, what's some of the best, I guess, prescriptions that we can give to these leaders of these organizations to quote unquote fix things?
You've talked about it a lot in a lot of your other conversations as well.
Well, I don't want to impose my beliefs on you. I think.
No, but it's about authenticity. And I think leaders seldom have time to self-analyze, and not self-analyze in a critical sense, like effectively taking themselves into the editing suite going, oh, I messed up that meeting because I did X, Y, or Z. They'll run that back pretty quickly in their head. Mm-hmm. But it's the time to say, who am I? What kind of a leader do I want to be? What's my legacy? What's my impact? How am I having conversations with other people? And the only way to really do that is to give people the chance to measure and assess it.
Yeah.
So if you give someone a mirror, and this is a mirror, by the way, of how other people see you, there's a disconnect. Mm-hmm. Your intent that you hold within you is to do these things, but it's landing this way. Mm-hmm. We can change our behavior. It's not about changing our personality, right? That's intractable. That's a personality trait. But we can shift our behaviors, especially if we know they're unhelpful, because we've been taught to behave certain ways from a sports team. You were taught to do certain things, or a first manager, or we
first
learn
boyfriend,
these
girlfriend,
things.
anything, all the way back. Yeah.
And shedding them, becoming aware of them and shedding or shifting.
Yeah.
As partner and head of corporate training at Quinlan and Associates, I've delivered workshops at family offices at some of the world's largest listed companies. I've lectured at some of the world's top business schools and delivered training for lean, mean teams of headhunters. Whatever it is, whether it's the art of communication, mindset, motivation, or building high-performance teams, I would love to be the one to help you deliver training that your people can actually look forward to and they will remember for a very long time. Click the link below or visit my website, michaelxcampion.com, or visit quinlanandassociates.com to find out more.
It's cool, isn't it? Because it reminds me of, again, always confidential, but clients I've worked with individually, I'm sure you have too. And that personality, as you said, sometimes it's intractable. Certain elements of that personality are intractable. But once you realize, or once you hold up the mirror to them and they realize, oh, these are some just behaviors I can turn up and down on a dial. And as a result, my people will react completely differently and much more warmly to me. Like, oh, it's a real revelation, I think, to them that they can change this one little thing, and the team is just so much happier or more at ease around them.
I think we've spent a lot of time saying, it's okay, you are who you are.
Yeah.
Just be yourself. Well, what if yourself is not a great person in a corporate context? Well, then no, change that. That's not helpful. It's not helpful to you. It's not helpful to the business. And it's certainly not helpful to the people that are working for or around you.
Yeah. There are certain aspects of one's personality that sometimes are not helpful. So,
yeah, and I think it's important for us to be clear, and I'm sure we both are, when you have these discussions with leaders. Your personality is fine. It's who you are. It's whether you're right-handed or left-handed. But how you are bringing that personality to bear on people, what you are doing with it, that's the bit we can shift.
Yeah, totally. And that's the beauty of the work, right? What tools did you use to, I guess, gain clearer insight into yourself and your motivations, right? In terms of building, like, this is my why, this is what I stand for, this is the impact I want to have. Is there a framework or a philosophy that you use to build that for yourself or use on others?
I had an interesting experience a couple of years ago, probably about 8 years ago, when I developed a program and took a tool on called Ikigai. And Ikigai wasn't so in vogue back then. It was a deep dive into the internet. But when I did that on myself, I kind of had this revelation. I'm in the space I'm meant to be in. And I feel very fortunate that having had the training experience effectively, on the job training through all of those years in finance, I had a certain level of confidence that I could do something, but I didn't know what it was. And then equally, there was this creative, slightly rebellious child piece that I've been letting go on the weekends. Bit of drawing, bit of painting, bit of sewing, bit of that sort of stuff.
Lovely metaphor.
Then I thought, hang on, I quite like to bring these together. And I had a client, funnily enough, one of my first clients, and I was offshore with them in India, and I didn't take a computer. I drew flip charts for them. We'd done a whole lot of technical data. I didn't give them paper. I drew it. And then at the end, I asked for their feedback. They went, loved the fact that you drew pictures for us. It's really stuck. And I thought, okay, it's okay to be a bit different. It's okay to use colored markers and crayons interactively with my clients. Not always and not every situation, but in a small room of 15 people, that worked really well. And I felt, okay, I can do this.
Amazing. For people who aren't familiar with the concept of Ikigai, would you mind explaining the 4 kind of spheres, overlapping spheres?
I can.
Or pillars, however you want to conceptualize them.
So Ikigai means one's life purpose. And it's generally a verb. So it's to teach or to various other kinds of things. It's a to-do. This is what my purpose in life will be. So the 4 bubbles are what you love, what the world will pay you for, what you're good at, and what the world needs. And I play with clients often. I say, just fill out as many of these as you can. Just keep on putting in words that are associated with perhaps from your side what you think the world needs that you might have for it. And it's interesting because getting all 4 bubbles to land in the middle for something is nearly impossible. It's a lot of people will spend their entire lives not getting there. Having 3 that connect is already pretty powerful.
Still pretty good.
Most of us spend our time sort of segmented. What we love is something that we do differently.
Sure.
What the world will pay for is what we turn up and do at work. Maybe what you're good at is what you coach on the weekends with your kids or your family or something. And what the world needs is perhaps what you aspire to do when you've finished everything else.
Or some volunteering, charity work. And, on the side.
I had one interesting experience again. It was a group of 30 women in a women's program that I was running. And Ikigai was very hard for a lot of these people to connect to. But one of these ladies has a heavily disabled son. She was working, and when she started to put this Ikigai together for herself, she did it in about 3 minutes. And she realized, I have a role to play at this company in making them understand what it means to have a disability and how we need to bring a different voice to the workforce. And I'm going to do that now at this company. And so suddenly she realized what her passion, what her calling, what her situation in life had brought her to, all came together in this amazing visual for her.
But beautiful.
For 26 of the other women in the room, they're like, I can't do it. It doesn't make sense. I don't have my Ikigai.
That's what I've found as well, running kind of similar exercises. There is that one person in the room, and they're just within 3 minutes, like you said, they just get it. It all becomes integrated rather than being siloed, right? Like her work, her son, who she loves and cares for, the world of people with disabilities and neurodiversity, and, stitching it all together is amazing. But
absolutely,
for most people, I think it takes a lot longer, but that doesn't mean it's not worthwhile. Right? It's so helpful for showing you, I guess, what do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? And what was the other one?
Pay for.
And what will the world pay for, right? Because I think, especially with entrepreneurship, the mistake a lot of people make is, I love this, I'm so passionate about it. Actually, the world doesn't need it. Right? And they won't
or
pay
I'm not
for
particularly good at it.
Or that, right? It's very important to get all 4, all 4 circles overlapping, but it's tough. But it's such a powerful exercise. I love doing it. So thank you for explaining it.
Oh, no, thank you. And don't you find you have to give clients a smorgasbord of different tools to play with, because for one person, Ikigai will resonate. For the next person, it's perhaps a spectrum of possibilities.
Yes.
Where could this thing take you that interests you?
Totally.
Or where, some people might be more planning. Okay, if in 10 years you want X, what do the intervening years look like?
Yeah.
Or postcard from your future self. We've got lots of tools in our box, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And, seeing what attracts each client is also quite interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if you found this as well, but when I've done it, what's really nice and kind of heartwarming for me is a lot of people are very unkind to themselves.
Yes.
Right? And they're so pessimistic about their abilities. But if you force them, like, I'm not leaving until you fill out these 4 bubbles and find something. Because I'm not good at anything. Yes, you are. Right? What are you passionate about? Not much. Yes, you are. Come on. Right? Just sit with me. Just play it out. And then they will start to kind of see to themselves, actually, there are possibilities, because sadness is lack of options. Sadness comes from lack of options, right? It's not necessarily, it's that feeling of hopelessness that I have no way out. I have no avenues. And as you said, it kind of opens up this portal for self-discovery and other possibilities, which I think is really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how lucky are we to have found the sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
Both of us, right? Incredibly lucky.
And it doesn't come easily to do this work because you have to step into a space where someone doesn't know whether they're going to trust you or how much to open up and what does that mean for them? How vulnerable are they going to be?
Yeah.
But it's so rewarding to be invited into that private space, basically to stand over the shoulder of one of your clients and look in that mirror that they're looking in, that self-talk that they're doing.
Yeah.
And share that journey with them and say, I'm going to challenge your thinking here because that voice that you're using is not helping you.
Yeah, totally.
I find it a privilege and an honor to be able to do it, frankly.
Yeah, it is. The organizational culture piece obviously is kind of gender agnostic, but you're very passionate. You have another kind of coaching program or academy, Lucella, Athena under Lucella. Would you mind telling me a bit more, and the listeners and viewers a little bit more about what you've done for organizations, specifically for women in leadership through Athena? Because I think it's interesting.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Again, it's not about women are broken, so we've got to fix them, but we do have unique challenges in organizations. And I think if companies can recognize that, they can do really powerful things. So develop this program because you want to give women, and arguably you want to give it to men too, but to do it in this framework, at least to set it up for women as a starting point, is quite powerful. The opportunity to think, who am I? What do I want? And how am I going to get it? And think about those in the context of their professional careers. Yes, the personal life runs parallel to it. But as going back to my earlier point, because we see this sort of disconnection of women in this mid-career point, we have 50% graduate intake of women.
Yeah.
Most organizations start out at their base layer, 55% women.
Okay.
Then we get to the top, the C-suite, it's somewhere between 25% to 30%.
Yeah, top of the funnel, yeah.
Where do we lose them? And then everyone's ringing around saying, well, we've got the 30% initiative. We need to find board members. Well, there isn't that bench strength anymore because we lost them in the mid-career. And we're all very comfortable, by the way, in saying, it's okay, there was good reasons why she left. But actually, I don't think we need to have those reasons anymore. So I was very passionate in addressing trying to help women unpack some of that thinking which will naturally come around, saying, okay, well, if we know who we are, you can understand your own ambition and where that ambition might take you. And is it within this career or is it in a different career? And what does that mean? And then, okay, now that I'm getting a sense of who I am, how am I going to go about getting it? Because that's the difficult part. What choices do I need to make? What training do I need to do? What do I need to set myself up for? How do I need to network properly? And it's not about going to the pub. It's about how do you build power networks.
Playing golf, etc. Yeah.
Playing golf.
Not that stuff.
Don't get me started on golf.
Yeah, exactly.
I say to my husband very often, it's nice that you caught up with so-and-so, but I couldn't cold call them, even though I know them, and say, let's have lunch because they're a man. And as a woman, it's harder for us. And the majority of people who, women like myself, are going to need to have a connection to propel themselves forward in their career are men. So we've already got this layer that makes it harder for us to get the next step forward.
And there's all these kind of unspoken, unwritten social contracts, right? Underneath
Very
a
much
simple
so.
lunch invitation, right?
Very much so.
Yeah. That I don't think about if I invite a guy, right? It just
And
doesn't
you
even
probably
cross my
don't
mind.
think about it if you invite a woman either.
No, I don't.
But there is a power dynamic.
I don't.
So I built a program that tries to, I think quite successfully, bring women into a space where they're more confident.
Yeah.
They know actually how they want to progress their careers, and they have real tools to get themselves there. Because you reflect on the point that I said earlier about we often have women who are put into jobs before they're ready because perhaps it was a diversity, or a manager genuinely thinks, I want to give her the opportunity, but without the right training or support or the right fundamentals or the understanding of where her strengths might actually be, she's likely to be set up for failure, or sit there quietly not doing enough, or withdraw because she feels, I'm not going to make my way here. So if we can give women the support and, by the way, the network to help each other and to feed it through the rest of the organization, you start to get a more powerful, empowered group of women that lead from the top.
Yeah, I like that. And that's something we can really start to do something with, right? Having that cohort, the group, the community all help and coach each other. It's not just top down, Coach Louisa and individual manager or director. It's we all coach and help and guide each other along the way, right? Which I think is great.
And if you have women in those kinds of roles, they're more likely as well to support the men and women in their teams with those similar values. Companies are very training poor.
Yeah, I'm staggered all the time, which is kind of good for us because we do corporate training and coaching. But
we also know they underinvest.
Yeah, of course.
Consistently.
Yeah.
And it's such a small thing, right? If you give people more tools to know themselves better, to understand what they need to do to continue to improve themselves and to be present, then they're going to be amazing executives as time goes on.
And don't you love seeing the pep in their step when they walk out the room?
Absolutely.
It's incredible, right? Like that. I still live for that, right? You see people bound out with more confidence, feeling inspired. And then it's your job, I guess, to keep that as not just a bounce, but it's something that is kind of consistent and can be built upon, right? It's not just that temporary high.
No, absolutely.
That's what you want. But that's why the beauty of your program, again, it's like a year-long cohort, right? Year-long program. Right. So they have ongoing accountability. And
so you have three stages to step through. And you can build relationships. Yeah. And what was always beautiful was people walk in on the first day going, I'm not quite sure why I'm here. I don't want to be someone who has to stand out. By the end of the first day, of course, these women realize their shared experiences as they come together and teach each other and learn from each other and are supportive of one another is going to manifold, spread out. Yeah. And I was so touched. About 5 months after the last cohort finished, I was invited into a call and I thought, oh, that's nice. They're keeping me in touch. And the call turned around to be about me. And they said, we need to tell you how important this program has been for all of us. So each one of these women had about 30 seconds and explained with a slide what the impact had been on them. And then I thought, okay, it's making a difference. Yeah. This is the right thing to be doing. Yeah. Because if they felt that way and they hadn't forgotten after 5 or 6 months, imagine what they were doing in the organization. Yeah. Imagine how they're paying that forward.
Yeah. What a beautiful surprise, eh? So we pulled into that call.
Well, obviously I sobbed.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Actually, I would have done the same. Big baby.
You can't not.
Can't not. No, it's incredibly heartwarming and validating to know that you've made a difference, right? So
exactly. And it's that making a difference when you can give people something that they didn't think that they needed.
Yeah, sure.
And they didn't even know that they were ever going to have. Yeah.
What a treasure. Well, I'm very happy that you and I will be doing more of this kind of work together in the future, which is new for us. We're getting to know one another, but I'm very happy that you're going to be helping me, helping Ben, helping the team at Quinlan Associates run more of these kinds of cohorts and programs together. And I can't wait to dovetail with you on some of this stuff. Too. It's going to be awesome. So thank you. I'd like to move into the kind of final stages of the podcast. I always ask guests the same kinds of questions, as you've probably heard before. I'll start with one I give to a lot of guests. What's something memorable that someone said to you in the past? Is there kind of words to live by or most memorable advice you've ever received?
Again, you see it in retrospect. I don't think I saw it at the time. I was 17, going to final year of school. I knew I wanted to study economics. I knew what the prerequisites were to get into the degree. And my school said, you have to do 5 subjects. I did the maths. 4 was going to get me there better than 5. School said, no, you have to do 5. I said, but that doesn't make sense. And my mother had a friend over of hers who another powerful, sassy woman like my mother. She said, Louisa, don't be ridiculous. Do not fit the institution. You make the institution fit you. My mother was so removed from the school. She had, she was really busy making films, and, I kind of got myself off and looked after myself and washed my own clothes and everything. It was a boarding school, actually. And I thought, can I stand up? And I did. And the school pushed back, but I got there. I made the right decision. And I think that taught me very early self-advocacy. And if you know something is right, doesn't matter how big or scary the situation is, push back.
Yeah.
So I think, don't you fit the institutions, you make them fit you. Quite challenging.
It's such a good quote, though.
But it was nice. Yeah, I think that was a good one.
It's such a good quote. And I think it's a lovely, it's actually a lovely, I don't know if it's a behavior or a trait to instill in someone young. Because it's something I really or I hope to instill in my kids. They're still fairly young, but I'd love to instill that sense of agency in them. Right? I always say, look for the third door. If someone says
Very
no
clever.
at the front door, if the nightclub, the hotel, the restaurant, whatever, look for the third door. Look for the other warm introduction. There's some way in. You just haven't figured out yet. There is a way.
That's very clever.
But your mum's quote was awesome.
Yeah.
If you could distill, everything you're doing right now to one core principle or core value that runs through everything you do, whether that's work, life, marriage, etc., what would that one principle be? And I know that's hard.
Yeah, no kidding.
You can give me 2 or 3, but I'll force you for one.
I think if I had sort of a life principle, it would be, if you want to get something done, ask a busy person. And it's not that I need to be constantly moving just to do stuff, but I do think an active mind and an active body lends to a more engaged life. I'm not the person to sit around. So if I've got 50 things on my plate and you ask me to do something, I'll still get your thing done very quickly.
Yeah.
And I see the opposite, and I'm always disappointed. I don't like being disappointed when someone says, yeah, sure, I'll get, and they don't do it. So for me, I guess the other part of that goes, under promise and over deliver.
Okay.
That's, I've always wanted to do the best I possibly can.
Yeah. Well, I think, I'm exactly the same in the sense that if I know I need something done, you ask your busy friend who has a million things on, because the person who has too much white space in their life, they tend to kind of recede into entropy and nothing actually gets done, right?
The procrastination.
Yeah. Anyway, I am most grateful for ... I'm most grateful for.
Obviously, I need to say my family.
That bloke on a train.
That bloke on a train and those 2 lovely children.
Aside from those lovely humans.
No, exactly. I was going to say that, that's just the blessing.
Yeah.
I'm certainly most grateful for all of the challenges I've had, because I think they've forced me to do something different. There was no job in Australia in 1993. I moved to Hong Kong. What an amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
I felt squeezed out by life here, jumped on a train, met a guy, ended up in Switzerland. Wow, what an incredible opportunity. Went into banking there, had career challenges, moved all around the world, was put into different roles, head of strategy, corporate strategy here in the Asia Pacific out of Sydney. What an incredible, amazing journey that was. But all of those things have come out of some kind of adversity or some kind of stumbling in the road. So I think I'm most grateful for those challenges because they don't look positive at the time they turn up, but in the rear view mirror, you say, thank Christ for that. That propelled me forward.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree. I have zero interest in meeting people who haven't gone through some level of suffering, right?
Yeah.
Like I've got to that point in my life. I just don't think depth of character emerges from an easy life. Is there anything else like in your life that you feel like you've really had to overcome in terms of adversity that you're willing to share? If not, that's fine. If it's relevant, share it. If not,
No, I mean, I think everyone has their own family,
their own battles.
Or, I mean, I've been blessed with pretty good health.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for that. I'm very fortunate with my family. I lost my father when I just moved to Hong Kong, and fortunately he suicided. So I feel very strongly about, what impact that had on me at the time. But everybody has their silent luggage that they carry around that either gets heavier or lighter depending on how you choose to carry it.
Yeah. Not all of us can make it lighter, but we can help others.
We can help others.
If we've gone through it and made ours lighter, we can help others. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Last question. I would be disappointed if. Another really easy one.
Yeah, I struggle with that one because I don't, probably because of my last answer.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much that could disappoint me. Obviously, if I wasn't here tomorrow, I wouldn't know about it, I guess. So I couldn't even be disappointed about that.
I would be disappointed, but you wouldn't know.
Thank you. I think everything that we have in life is an opportunity or something to grow from. So I don't feel that there's something that would disappoint me massively. Mm-hmm. I've come from a background where we didn't have anything.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable with not having, not knowing. So I think I would say I'm not willing to be disappointed.
It's a perfectly valid answer.
Oh, thank goodness me.
Valid answer. I love it. Louisa, it's been a real pleasure. We're going to go grab a beer and depressurize, because I know we've both been on planes lately. Is there anywhere that my listeners, viewers can follow you, follow your journey online? Any good URLs to follow you and your journey?
Well, certainly on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's the home of corporate sharing. I try not to be too active because I have a real sense that I don't want my clients to get the idea that personally, for me, in what I'm doing, they're hearing any of their stories played out.
Got it.
And I enjoy telling stories too much, so I try and stay away from that. But I'm definitely on LinkedIn, and I'm looking forward to working together with you. I'm really excited.
Really excited, genuinely. So I will put your LinkedIn profile in the show notes.
Thank you.
Let's go have a drink.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Louisa.